Welcome to Love in Brief, a this time not at all brief ABDL advice podcast focused on issues of love. I am Resonant Yes.
And I am Lola.
And I am Teddy.
And we are bringing you, at long last, our CAPCon 2026 episode. And let me give you a little bit of background on why we have waited 2 weeks to bring you this episode. I know there was a ton of buzz right after CAPCon about all the wonderful things people did and experienced. I think we had an amazing show. I was really, really happy with the questions we got and the awesome panel we had. And then there was a technical error that caused the audio to be really, really difficult to hear. And so I reached out to a couple of our friends who are also audio nerds. That was Dadbaud and Mr. November, and said, can you help? Because we really want this audio to be at least intelligible, right? Because technical glitches happen and you just got to do the best you can. Thank heavens for both of them. They both worked on it. And I think we have audio that is listenable. I won't say it is the standard of quality we normally want, but when glitches happen, we pick up the pieces and move on. So I'm so thrilled that we even get to share the 2026 CAP episode with you. And I hope that you are not too mad at us for waiting 2 weeks to get it right. But hopefully you'll be able to hear it and enjoy the episode as it is. And we had a hell of a panel. So I want to hear about them in just a minute. But Teddy, I have to ask you, tell me about your love. It wouldn't be a Love in Brief without asking you. Tell me about your love.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. I never get to answer this question myself.
I know, right?
I guess right now I'm in the middle of my toughest time of the year. You know, I'm an accountant, so it's go time for taxes. But my lovely partner Toki has just been helping me so much every day. Just planning out meals, keeping the house clean, keeping me just in high spirits, and I am so grateful for her, and for all the other support in the past years too. Like Lola, we used to be roommates; she would help me a lot. So for all my friends out there, all the community that I have, they're keeping me going right now. And only a few more weeks, and then I'll be able to kind of come back and start doing more community events and everything. But yeah, so thank you all for the support.
You've been more or less holed up in the same office chair for how many weeks? But at some point, you will crawl back out into the sunlight, all pale and blinking, and rejoin the world.
We love you, Teddy. You got this. You can do it.
Yep.
Thank you both. Yeah, no, this chair is getting some love. I'll say that.
I bet.
So, I'm also tell us about your love. My chair too. My chair is nice.
Yeah, your chair.
Well, you got a new one, didn't you? Isn't it
I did,
nice
yes.
and
it's a
nice,
fancy chair.
fancy.
Lola, tell me about your love.
Ooh, me?
Yes,
my love?
You get to answer this.
Well,
one.
I mean, I'm always just exploding with love.
This is true.
Yeah, but I guess right now my love is for you, RY, and my other partner, Banana. It's very exciting that my other partner is moving to our city.
That is exciting.
So it's been really exciting and kind of crazy and hectic, but I'm very excited to have both the people I love the mostest in the whole world to be, with me.
I love
all
that
the time.
too.
And I'm so grateful that both of you are so supportive and of me and everything that I am and want to do and who I want to be. And also that you guys really love each other too in a way of good friends. You look out for each other as well. And I love that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's
is so
a really
sweet.
Heartwarming answer, and mine is so shallow.
Oh no,
in comparison.
is it not me?
No, it's obviously you.
Okay.
But I'm going to add on top of that.
Okay.
So it's always you, of course, and this amazing community. But on top of that, my love is for the fact that I got a tax return this year for the first time in how many years. Okay. My accountant,
so your
Teddy,
love is actually for Teddy,
my
not
accountant
Lola.
Teddy did the hard work of finding the taxes as they should be.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, there was some money left that I had left in previous years.
Teddy went in the closet and found some money, and
so
the IRS sent you a check.
Super duper excited. So Teddy, I hate to shift from Lola to you, but you are my hero this week. Because I actually got a refund for the first time in how many years?
That is very exciting.
Shucks.
Yeah,
it's all part of the job, Not all heroes wear capes.
Although you can't spell cape without CPA, so there you go.
Whoa, that was right off the top of your head.
Yeah,
that was really good. RY
are slick,
oh,
Mister.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
That was slick.
All right, Teddy. I wonder if you would talk to our listeners about the incredible panel we have, because when we play the audio, it might be kind of hard to hear them and to hear their names. Let's talk about the incredible panel we had, our friends on the stage with us at CAP 2026.
Yes, happy to. What a crew. First thing I want to say, though, is yes, I am so grateful for our sound engineers who came out and tried to help us with this audio. It was not looking good there for a while, so if we get anything out at all, I'm counting this as a win. So I'm excited for everybody to hear this, even if it isn't, the typical quality. But yes, on our panel this year, we're, the three of us were, of course, up there, but our three guest panelists were, the first one was BabyMisty. BabyMisty hosts some events in New Jersey, has been around the community for a long time. She runs the Absolute Delight events, which is, I love that name, AB Absolute DL good. Delight. So good.
Very good.
She does a quarterly or maybe semi-annually, I'm not sure exactly the frequency, but this Kinky Rinky event in New Jersey. And I have heard glowing things about that. The next one is coming up in October. So maybe go check that out for more information. Highly recommend it from people that I've talked to. Our second guest was Comfortably Crinkly, and you'll actually hear his voice on our podcast on probably the next episode that we do after this. We actually recorded it back in February, but just as a little bit of an introduction, he is the host of the Crinkle Club podcast along with Miss Mommy. They're based in the UK, and really wonderful insight. And I think Lola mentions on the podcast, the live recording, that his accent is killer. So listen for that.
It is.
And then our third panelist was Nikki Love. And Nikki Love is also a podcast host. Her podcast is Cautious Little Heart. Been doing that for a few years. I believe all three of us have been guests on there at this point.
It is a small incestuous circle, this podcast.
It sure is.
I like it that way.
Oh, my. It was great to have her on the panel. Great insight. And she was fresh off of doing a rock concert the night before as part of the Bottom Tapes rock band. So you'll hear some of that on the podcast. And we'll do some reflections here in a minute. I'm sure that'll come up. Last thing I want to say about Nikki, she also organizes bunches in Southern California. So does a great job with that. And just been around the community for a long time and love her to death. So again, great panelists. We're not going to be able to hear them as well as we'd have hoped, but I think you'll still get a lot of great insights out of these wonderful people.
Yeah. I mean, after we answered that first question as a panel, I looked around and was like, good God, all of our panelists and friends are so smart and so insightful. And I also think that everyone up there, we all have really different, distinct personalities and distinct outlooks at things. And so I thought that was really cool that we all kind of hit things from different angles.
Yep.
But it was just such a joy to be up there, and they are all so smart so wonderful.
They are. I don't want to ruin the surprise, but at one point, one of our multilingual panelists just switched into their other language to address one of our question askers, and I was just blown away. I was like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Why
Love
not?
it.
So it was a magnificent experience, and I do have to say, the audio that you'll hear may not sound amazing, but the audio in the room was great. And actually, the audio for the whole week, every room I went into, everything from the rock concert to the opening and closing ceremonies to the talent show to the other podcast. I went to the In the Nook podcast. The audio on site was incredible. So don't worry, this is not a reflection of the amazing team that Cody runs, and our audio engineer for the day, Daddy Don, was awesome. And we just had a magnificent support team who was running all the AV for the event. So, but when you listen to it, don't worry. In the room, it was spectacular. I just hope that you can enjoy it. I also do want to thank everybody who attended. We had a packed house.
The whole room was filled.
The entire big room was filled. We had people standing all along the back. There were more people filtering in, and everybody was super engaged and really, really. I felt so heartwarmed that everybody showed up for the Love and Brief podcast and for us, and then shared such wisdom with each other.
Yeah. I mean, I think you got teary-eyed twice.
At least.
Yeah. I mean, you got up twice from the panel and went down to hug some of the question askers, RY. That was so hard.
I couldn't help it.
It was so heartwarming.
So I think of the very first question, I got halfway into my answer and couldn't proceed. We weren't 5 minutes into the podcast before I started getting choked up. So
people really just brought their full selves, and it was amazing.
Yes. Yeah. It really was. So So I will ask you guys to reflect a little bit. Lola, if I can come to you first,
Sure.
before we play this audio, we're now 2 weeks out of CapCon 2026. What are the moments, or even the biggest moment or the best moment for you that sticks out in your mind upon reflection as being really significant?
Oh, gosh. Significant. Okay.
Yeah, significant to you.
Yeah. I mean, I think the just loudest moment in my brain, not volume wise, yes, also volume wise, but was the rock concert. And I mean, every single person in that room it felt like we were all jumping up and down to the same heartbeat, like everyone is so in sync and so happy. And the bottom tapes were incredible. We personally know two of the people that were up on the stage quite well. And then I got to know the other two really well over Cap, and they were all incredible people. And so it was just so much fun to watch your friends up there just killing it at the thing that they do. And also just our friends who I know, actually everyone up there had been going through some really difficult times in life lately, and they were all so happy. So not just was the audience happy, everyone on stage was happy. And my daddy got to go up and play a song, and that was so fun.
Sure did. Oh my God, I had the time of my life.
I was just like oh my gosh, most shrieky, like hard-eyed little groupie girl. So that was really, really fun. I mean, I always love emo prom. Like, that's usually one of my very favorite events anyways.
Yeah.
But to have the live band this year was just next level.
Yeah. I never thought emo prom would be topped, but I mean, and mad props to their set list and the DJs for that.
Yeah.
Amazing. I was up for that too, but
Yes.
that rock concert, the bottom tapes, what a performance.
Yeah.
I hope they bring him back next year. I really, really do.
I can't imagine they won't. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and I mentioned it during the podcast, so folks will hear in a little bit, but seeing an entire room of 1,500 adults that happy.
Yes.
Just thoroughly happy. Like, I had the good fortune to be on the stage looking out while I was playing.
Yeah.
And to see this many grown-ups this happy is just... When do you see that?
And not a single adult person, no one in that room was on their phone.
No.
The entire hour and a half or whatever.
It was incredible.
Like,
Fully
everyone
present.
was engaged. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And it was just killer. The music was amazing.
It was really good.
Yeah.
It was really good. Teddy, how
I
about
love that.
you?
During the podcast, when you said that, RY, about, when was the last time you saw this many adults happy in a room? That really struck me because, I mean, we're so used to being bombarded by bad things and just stressful lives and bad, to be in that moment and you calling attention to that, I was like, yeah, you're right. What an amazing moment. So
it felt cathartic too. I mean, it was like we all needed to get this out of us, and the best way to do it was just this heart-thumping, floor-shaking, loud, raucous music that we all got to sing along to, and it just felt like we were, expelling something that needed to get out of us.
And every single person was dancing in their own way. Like, it was amazing.
Teddy, how about you? Do you have a moment that feels particularly significant to you from CAP 2026?
Yeah, what's funny is, we recorded the podcast, I think it was Saturday at 11. And so at that point, that was the last kind of full day of CapCon, and it was already amazing. I mean, you'll hear in the audio, I mentioned a lot of things on there. Big one for me was being there with Toki, my partner, for the first time, and just having all these great experiences with her. But the moment that stands out to me the most actually happened after the podcast panel, and that was that afternoon. There was this kind of elementary school musical class, this performance. It was in the preschool room. So environment wise, it was very much like a preschool environment, but the teacher was just incredible. And he led this choir class in an hour to perform 3 or 4 different choir songs, and then went out to the big atrium and performed. The choir performed in front of like 200 people that just kind of showed up and started watching.
I did
and listening.
it.
Yeah,
I
Lola
did
was
it.
in there.
It was
but
so
for me,
fun.
I was there watching Toki, and she was very nervous. She was scared of giving performances, but I was just standing there watching her as her caregiver, as her daddy, and just crying and so proud of her. And that moment, watching her do that, will stick with me for the rest of my life. I was just so blown away by that experience, and just huge thank you to I think Arson Scott was the instructor in that class, and he was just top notch, incredible. I also loved in that class how like all the littles were in the middle of the room, and then there was this like cohort of daddies on the side, just kind of standing and watching.
And I was like looking across at my daddy, like across the room, and I was just like, wave. Yeah, and I was like, hi. It was so fun.
Yeah, that was an absolute masterclass in somebody who knows their craft so well that Arson Scott got everybody singing in 3-part, sometimes 4-part harmony within 40 minutes.
It was so great.
And good enough to then go around CAP and give performances at different areas of CAP as a cohort.
It was really fun to see everyone's like captivated faces, because we just went out into like the atrium and everyone just turned around and was like,
what is this?
It was incredible.
Yeah.
I know Daddy reads to you on Instagram.
Yes.
Just fabulous stuff.
That was also a highlight for me too, Teddy. Yeah.
Me too.
It had to have been. And I want to mention it because it wasn't even, again, the podcast was recorded before that, so we don't even talk about it. But there's a million other moments too, just the whole environment of that sort of, you can be your full self. I think in the past I've struggled to kind of get into the more, like stop wearing my business casual kind of clothes, my daily life kind of clothes. But this year I went straight into it. I wore skirts, I wore onesies, I did my thing, and it was so nice because everybody else was so welcoming and encouraging of that too. So.
And every single one of Toki's outfits, I was like, girl, what are you wearing right now? I love this and I want it.
Yep.
So I know. We sat next to each other in the elementary choir class, and it was so fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is funny because the way that Arson divided up the room was by pitch that you tend to sing in. So it was irrespective of gender or dynamic role. It was just, do you tend to sing higher or lower?
Yeah.
And this gaggle of daddies that I was a part of all happened to have very deep voices. And so you would hear the 3-part harmony. It would start with the high and then the middle, and then you'd get to us, and it was just all these bassy voices. It was so fun.
Is a gaggle of daddies the collective noun for daddies?
Yeah, it's like a dazzle of zebras. It's a gaggle of daddies.
A gaggle of daddies.
Okay,
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I was just thinking about my answer for this question, and I think I have to. It sounds so obvious, but it was during the podcast. At one point, I had left the podium or the stage a couple of times to come down and to hug somebody because I just thought their story was so beautiful. And what I would do is I hug them, and then I would kind of come back to reality because you're so present with that one person. It's like nobody else exists.
Yeah.
And then I would get back to the stage and I remember after the second time looking out and realizing that everybody in that room was as invested in that person as I was, if we had all just hugged. I just had the luxury of getting to do it. But everybody in that room looked so thoroughly interested, concerned, compassionate, involved, and invested in that person as they had been for the person before that, as they had been for the person before that. And it was in that moment that I realized for the 100th time, but I think in a very corporeal way, that what we're doing with this podcast is just an expression of what the community does for the community every day.
Yeah.
Like we have a forum to do it, but that's what we are all showing up for, and that's what we're doing for each other all the time. Mm-hmm. And the community is for the community and is lifting up the community and is supporting the community. And I saw that any one of the people in that room could have been me in that moment, giving that same hug. Mm-hmm. And they were ready to do it, and they wanted to. You know what I mean? That's just when you're looking at hundreds of people just sharing that kind of love towards one human being. That just makes me so happy.
We really were sharing the same energy.
Oh, for
everyone in that room. It was amazing.
It makes me think of the rest of the world. I'm like, why can't we be more like this?
Right, like that moment.
Why can't we all have this kinship, this like support for each other, this encouragement to be your full self? Why can't we take this bottled up energy from CAPCon and bring it to the rest of the world? And we're trying, right? We have these glimpses into it with the podcast and our tales of it, and the people who have gone who can kind of pass that on. But
right.
I know.
It really is about just paying it forward. We all get to be part of this amazing, incredible experience. And now, I'm going to challenge us and all of you out there that went, like, now take that out into your life and show that same level of compassion and empathy and openness. I mean, everyone's so open at CAP. That doesn't happen out in the real world.
Right.
Take that with you because it will spread. I promise. I promise it will.
Yeah. And I know we talk a lot about us being a very divided culture, and we are, particularly along political lines right now. I can tell you that I guarantee there were a mix of political perspectives in that room, just as there was a wide mix of gender identities and ages and ethnic backgrounds and socioeconomic strata. But boy, we were united for each other. And I think that is the spirit of CAPCon itself and the spirit of our community itself. And are there bad actors every once in a while? Yes. Are there toxic things that happen? Yes. But that's not most people, and it's not most of the time. And I think in that moment I realized this is actually the spirit of who we are.
Yeah.
Because we didn't pay anybody to be there. We asked, in fact, time from an otherwise very cool conference to come hang out with us. And they just brought that love just to bring that love, which is awesome.
It's very heartwarming, very encouraging. It keeps me going,
and now, Me too. And now we get to share it with everybody. We get to share the audio. So my encouragement is stick in there, friends. If it may not be great for car listening because it's a little hard to make out, you can try it. It might be good for, like, let's say, like AirPods or earbuds, maybe a little better choice, something with sound cancellation. But huge thanks to the CAPCon team who recorded it with us and set us up for an awesome session. Huge thanks to our audio helpers, Dadbaud and Mr. November. And we are so pleased to bring you CAPCon 2026 live, Love and Brief.
An APL advice podcast focused on issues of love. That's love for yourself. That's love for your community. And today, here live at CAPCon, it is love for CAPCon, right? It has been an extraordinary few days. And I don't know, how many of y'all went to the Bottom Tapes rock show? This is my 7th or 8th CAPCon. I've lost count, and that was the most fun I have ever had at a CAPCon. It was incredible. I'll get all emotional. I'm not going to talk about it. To see so many happy people in one room enjoying community so much, was amazing. So today, this morning, we're going to take all of that wonderful energy and somehow turn it into wonderful advice, and I hope that y'all will participate. I am Resident Yes, and I would like to introduce you to our co-host and panel.
I'm Lola. I'm so happy you guys are all here. Is everyone having a good cap? I'm BabyMisty.
Love.
I'm Teddy Bear. How many first-time CAPCon goers are there? I know our listeners can't see this, but a good half of the room just raised their hand.
Incredible. Is it what you thought it would be, first-timers? Is it better than you thought it would be?
It's amazing.
Love it. It's amazing. It's fantastic. I remember my first CAPCon as being wildly overwhelming. And by Saturday morning, I was just a puddle of emotions and memories and thoughts, and I was just pure excitement.
Why were you a puddle?
Well, things happen. So I'm going to invite our community here to come up whenever you're ready, and I will invite you to come up, ask a question. Our esteemed panel and co-hosts will do our very best to share our wisdom. There is so much wisdom in this community. You may even have something you want to share with the rest of the room to add maybe to somebody else's response. Please do. That's where we are here for each other. And we have a little bit of a bribe because I'm not above that. Our good friends at North Shore have provided a whole bunch of free diapers over here. So if you come up to the mic and ask a question or give us a comment, please grab a diaper in your size of choice. And if you're really, really good, you can have one of those cool Love and Breathe magnets too, I'm just saying. All right, anybody who is going to be our brave first person, I do have a special prize for our first person. Because it's always the hardest to be the first person. Come on up to the mic right here in the center.
First of all, I want to start off by saying I love the podcast. I listen to it almost every week.
Oh, thank you, Steve.
My question is, I am still recently new in the community. So I guess how do you make yourself more open?
More open. Say more about more open.
I guess through experiences.
Mm-hmm. How do you get open to new experiences, friends?
Great question, and congratulations for joining. All of this excitement is incredibly life-changing and affirming to accept who we are. I think it's really important to let yourself organically unfold. Because if you set any expectation of what one should do or what one should experience, then you're not present, right? You're not living in the moment. So I would say, even if you're comparing your journey, and I'm a mom of bio kids and I have to tell them and remind myself, comparison is the thief of joy to the point that it's super annoying. But sometimes you'll meet someone else on their journey and they've been more engaged in the community and you're like, oh, I should be there, or I've been this number of CAPCons. And I don't think that serves anyone. So I would invite you to just unfold and organically let you be you and your journey be your journey.
Thank you.
I would say show up and observe. And just, I don't know, if you've ever been to a dungeon, people, you can watch people do scenes and just learn a lot by watching them do that. I don't know. I feel like a hyper dork, so I don't know. You can go at your own pace. You don't have to do it all in one swoop, and I'm sure you'll see different things that light up different circuits in your brain, and you're like, oh, that, yeah, me too, and that's it. That's my TED Talk.
Most of the times I'll just say, allow yourself to be happy. If something's making you happy, then keep doing it. Don't feel shame. Remember that you're part of an incredible community, and just throw yourself into new things, see what you like, and see what comes out of it. Try everything twice. You're going to be rubbish at it first time.
That's really good advice. I think a good first step is just to pick one thing that scares you, not terrifies you, but just one thing that scares you, and try to make that your goal. And you'll find, I think about that. This is my 4th CAP. I remember picking that on my first CAP. I'm going to do one thing that scares me. And now I think about that, I'm like, that scared me? You have to take that just one little step. And then I also want to give advice to everyone around in the community is, I think the more people that just invite you in, so when somebody was like, hey, I'm going to go watch, yesterday I watched a sounding scene, and I was like, I don't know that I want to see that, but you know what, I'm going to go, and I want to be there, and it was just one person being like, you should come just check it out, and if you don't like it, guess what, you can just leave, it's okay. So I would encourage the community to if you meet someone new, just take that person and be like, let's go do one thing together, and that can really help them open up and be like, oh, this isn't so scary.
I think it's momentum based too. There's phases of your life or times in your life where you're going to be more open to new experiences. And if you start small, like you said, baby steps, then you can build inertia with that. I'm not sure how many of those first-timers that raise their hand have never been to another event before, but odds are you've at least had a conversation with somebody online, somebody in your local community. Maybe you went to a munch, a dungeon. You started somewhere, and now all of us in this room are at this major convention. That's a big step, and it started from those small, those baby steps. And so, for those listening out there who are maybe not at CAPCon, you can go and start that journey now. Put that on yourself. Make it a goal. We're past New Year's now, but it's kind of like a New Year's resolution. Put that on your list for the year, for the next season. Go out to your local munch. Make a friend. And who knows, maybe by this time next year or whatever the next CAPCon is, they'll be in this room too.
I love it. Thank you for that question. And a big round of applause for our first question. All right, friends. What else you got? Please.
Feel free to make a line too if you guys want to that's okay too.
First off, big thanks for listening to this podcast. It's been a great help for me. One thing I've enjoyed the most about it is the intersectionality you cover in so many topics, whether it's asexuality, neurodivergence, and coming into CAPCon was like first big dream to get in the community. And one thing I'd like to share was the Mall of America experience. I literally dream about writing road posters, but combining that with wearing diapers and doing this stuff. I mean, how awesome is that?
Yeah, it's the greatest of all things, right?
Yeah, so my question to you is, what is your biggest dream for the ABDL community at this moment?
Oh my God, what a great question. Thank you for that. I know, guys, we're done. We're diving in the deep end. It's like 11:15 in the morning. I love it. What is your biggest dream for the ABDL community right now?
I like NBDs, which means never been done. And yesterday there was two. There was diaper stand-up that my friend Billy did. We had a diaper event in Los Angeles, and he's a stand-up comedian, and I was like, you need to do diaper stand-up. CAPCon is the place that you should do it. And he fucking did it. I swear, it's okay. And the same night there was a diaper band, and that was I just think, I don't know, I'm goofy, and the thought of like new things that have never been done, like that's a world first. I don't know. That fucks me up. So more NBDs, more uncharted territory, sky's the limit, and just, I don't know, if all this stuff's possible, like, who knows what else we can next.
So I would throw in some positive depictions of ABDL or age play, where it is not presented as any kind of paraphilia, it's not pathologized, it's not on a CSI episode. I know growing up as a person of a certain age, it didn't exist in any form, and when it started to pop up, there's this horrible episode, and like there's something wrong with this dirty secret, and there's a crime committed, and they're a murderer. So as marginalized or non-standardized personas start becoming present, if you think about depictions of characters that were non-white, like initially it's like, oh, they're supporting characters, or they're in some kind of service role, and then when it becomes not key to the character that they have that trait, so whatever that in film, like when a woman is present, the number of females that are in there that are not a love interest, there's some measurement, and I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember what it's called, but when we have a depiction that appears in media at some juncture that is like, hey, that's a really cool person, just like the LGBTQ community. First it was like, oh my gosh, that person's gay, and then suddenly it's like, hey, there's this really cool character. Oh yeah, and I forgot they happen to also be LGBTQ. So when ABDL is presented in that way, where it's normalized, and it's not a plot point to say like there's this aberrant behavior, that's what I'm looking forward for.
I just 10,000 extra points for referencing. Is it the Bechdel test?
Thank you.
And using the word aberrant at 11:15. Pretty impressive. Man, I tell you what, there's my personal hope for every person in the community, and then there's the community as a whole. My personal hope. No, I'm going to be a mess. We just started on question 2. I'm a big softy.
Love for some.
Yeah. My hope is that nobody has to go through what so many of us did. There's skip the shame part and the self-hating part and the I'm awful part and the I'm broken part and the something's wrong with me part and I have to be fixed part and the pathologized part and
we can just fast forward to the I love myself, I love my kink, and I know how to make myself happy. That's the thing I want to fast forward to, and I want to get to a day where nobody has to go through that, where it wouldn't even occur to them. That's my dream.
That was so beautiful. Okay, he's done. I think, first of all, what my first thought was, like, is there a bigger dream than this? Like, what? You know, we're here. What an incredible event. Can we just give it up for all the CAPCon staff? I actually can't imagine like how much work that I know they've all worked like all year, right, forever to put this on. But I think that this is a dream, and I want it to continue to grow. And I think it would be amazing to be able to have more events spread out throughout the country, throughout the world, because you know, it's hard for people to get here, right? And that's just like another barrier to accepting yourself, is like the barrier of being able to travel and get to a place. So I would hope for that. And then my other hope for the community is that I'm going to do a little shameless plug. So we did a crossover episode with In the Nook, and they're over there. Hi. It was one of my very favorite episodes that we've ever done, because I think it addressed, or just started to address, a really important like division in the community between the gay community, the LGBTQ, the queer community, and the trans community here, and then I don't know the other side, whatever we want to call it. And that's something that's been really present on my mind coming into this CAP. And I think I've actually seen more people gathering together, but I want that to happen more, because we're all here for a certain reason, and we can all learn from each other. And I want that to happen here in this community. So that's it.
The crossover episode of In the Nook is the most talked about episode of the year, so thank you for joining us.
People talk to us all the time.
All right, I'd like to have another question, please.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I actually was not familiar with the podcast until a friend of mine told me about it, so I'm excited to get caught up. Thank you for being here. Last night was awesome. So thank you for that. My question is, do you guys have advice for somebody who's been in the community a couple of years, navigating ups and downs with being motivated to participate, but it's also feeling unmotivated to continue their journey at that particular moment, and how can they center themselves to regroup and re-involve themselves?
Ooh, so how do you might have participation here and there, but there's moments where you want to pull back and not grow.
This CAP feels different than the past for me, and it's far less, I think it's more about community for me and far less about the act of wearing and doing that stuff, and navigating that for me is new.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to come to terms with how do I get re-involved and reinvigorated to be a deeper part of the community.
Oh, that's a wonderful question. Thank you for that. How do you get that motivation, like this over time shift, to lean in and become more engaged, more involved?
I think first, give yourself some grace. You know, I mean, you've gone the journey to get to the point where you're at already, which is a big step. And so once you're there, it's natural to kind of be like, wow, I did this. You need to reinvent yourself. One episode that I think we did last year was Ebbs and Flows and ABDL. And I like that one a lot, because a lot of us are going through a hard time. Maybe not this year, maybe not last year, but at some point we're going to go through a hard time in our lives. Maybe we lose our work. Maybe we lose a family member. And this might go on the back burner for a while. And that's okay. You know, it's still there for you. It's still a part of you that you've come to reconcile and accept. And you did that hard work, and that's not going to go away. And so just give yourself some again, grace for maybe not feeling it in the moment. It's not lost. You're not going backwards. You're not regressing, even though that's fun for a lot of us, right? But on your journey of self-love and acceptance, you're not going to go backwards on that. You know, you've done that work. So that's, I guess, my starting advice here. I'm not sure if anybody else has any elaboration.
I would say service to others. So I hosted my first ABDL lunch in San Francisco in 2001, 2002. And I came to a different place before the pandemic, had moved back, and I had a dear friend that we instantly connected with. And they were getting out of a 30-year vanilla marriage, and they didn't really know anybody. And I partnered with them to restart a munch because someone had left it to kind of wither after a number of years of getting frustrated, of trying to meet a partner. And, anyway, it can be really frustrating to run events, and it's very depleting, and sometimes you run out of spoons. So being in service to others to give that gift, that maybe the first time I was hosting a munch, it was more about me. And look at me, and I'm hosting a munch, but doing it completely for the purpose of community, for the reason of bringing people together. So maybe that first timer that you saw all these folks raise their hands in here, that was more than half probably actually when I looked at it. I'm one of those folks. And give them a buddy, because it can be terrifying. I'm an extreme extrovert. My first CAPCon, I had ugly, crying, heaving panic attacks because I felt like at the cafeteria of middle school with my tray, and I was like, everyone's already friends. Where do I sit? So if you can adopt a newbie and just, as Lola recommended, like, hey, maybe bring them with you, like to be invited to play. If you remember how affirming that is, to be like, hey, I'm going to go do this. Do you want to come color with me? And then even introverted people, everything, at least being invited, even if they say no, if they don't have the energy, put yourself in service to others, and I found that even more affirming to grow that love again.
I think it's Teddy's point, where you're giving yourself grace and just being kind to yourself. And specifically, if we look at something like CAPCon, we're all coming here with a list of things that we want to do and achieve, and people that we want to see, and places we want to go, and experience that we want to have. And sometimes it just doesn't play out like that. You end up with a calendar clash, you end up speaking, you end up staying up a little bit too late, whatever it may be. And I think it's just, that's okay. There's no right or wrong way to do camp. Everybody has their own experience. And just being kind to yourself, knowing that sometimes you're just not in that space. And sometimes those plans just fell through. And that's totally okay. Because there's always tomorrow, or there's always next year, or there's always another time to just experience those things.
Let's just get off of that accent. No, you all have accents, not me. I think one thing that has really been helpful to me to reinvigorate my king self, I still feel like I'm like newer to the community. Last like 4 years, actually, really doing stuff, right? And there have already been times where I'm just like, I don't feel like this anymore. I don't want to. I remember my last cap that we were at. I had that same feeling that you had, where I was like, this doesn't feel the same, and I don't know what's wrong. Nothing's wrong. Like, first of all, we're all humans, and we all have these times of going, just like any hobby or anything in life, right? But something that's been really helpful to help reinvigorate is to go somewhere else in the kink or broader BDSM world and find like one other thing, and then be like, oh, that's new and exciting. Like, we just started doing some pet play, and that's been so reinvigorating for me, and also has helped me become like a better submissive, because I'm like excited about it again. So find maybe something kink adjacent to get excited about. That way you can keep growing and you're not stagnant.
And if all else fails, just do what I do and dress like a 25-year-old. I realize I'm age playing as a 25-year-old. Well, it's funny because, I woke up this morning and I thought, oh man, maybe I'll put a diaper on, like literally every other person in this convention today. Some days I feel like it, some days I don't. And today I was like, I kind of don't. And then my brain went, well, you're doing CAPCon wrong. You know what I mean? Like, this is the place where you do that. You're doing it wrong. And then I realized, no, like, the RY that is waking up this morning is the RY that wants to go run the Love and Breathe podcast more than anything in the world. Not the RY that is dying to get into a diaper right now. And that's great, right? And then later, the RY that really wants to get into a diaper will go get into a diaper. Like, right, just, that's totally fine. So find the you that wakes up that morning and what that you wants to be about. And if it's service to the community, and if it's doing your favorite thing, like doing this podcast, or if it's putting on a diaper, just affirm that person and say, that's the person showing up right now. Awesome. Okay.
doing this as an introvert, your podcast has really helped me feel part of the community, and I really appreciate your openness and candor. So thank you. And my question for all of you, if roles were reversed, what is a question that you would ask to this particular panel?
Ooh, what would you bring to this panel?
What's with all the diapers?
Oh my God, you are Buckman. Yeah, what is a question that what is an advice question you would love an answer to from an esteemed panel of wise folks?
Bottom, top, side.
There are different circumstances for this. If you really want to know the real answer, if you're standing up, top tapes
What if we did
you're
the
laying
bottom
down
left and the top right? Just like,
that's crazy.
get wild.
I think I would maybe want to know what is an episode or a topic that we haven't covered for whatever reason, maybe because we're scared to, or maybe because it may be controversial, or we just don't know what, might be just a big, so what would you do that you haven't done yet?
Don't ask.
So, Lola triggered in a good way, not the negative trigger warning, but there are some individuals in this community and organizations that have gotten canceled. And how do you recover from a redemption tour of a sincere way as we're all growing and learning? And if you think about potty training, and we haven't really necessarily mastered that, but I think about companies or individuals that are tied to companies that may have done wonderful things for the community, but now they are persona non grata. And how do you talk to them? If they sincerely really want to change and grow, and we have an openness to that, they are now blackballed and blacklisted. And I know lots of people as individuals that I love and are fantastic and maybe made some choices, but how do we practice forgiveness and how do we practice growth? And I don't know how one does that. And if you think about, I don't want to get political, but you think about how do you talk to people, and that person's dead to me because they did this way, or they voted this way, or they thought this way, but maybe they've evolved, and now we can never talk to them again, or we can never have a moment to explore their process. So that would be something that is the third rail of then how do you have that person on this podcast? It's everyone thinks they're safe. Don't know.
Episode on the other side of cancellation. Wow. You guys, this is getting sharp. This is getting, I love it. I love it. Are you kidding?
I'm taking notes.
This is really good. I think I would want to know from a panel of esteemed ABDL folk, how have you accepted the new, whatever you've evolved into as an ABDL? Because who you are today and the person that you maybe started out as are probably different people. And I would love to know from a bunch of folks when I first started trying to reconcile this part of me, that person was 30 years old. That was 16 years ago. Who have I grown into? And how am I trying to grow this person and reconcile this person? So I would love practical advice on that, on how you continue to fall in love with the person not only that you were trying to be, but that you are becoming.
So that sounds like evolution in cake, which we should definitely do an episode on.
You should do that. That sounds good. Oh, I love that question. All right. Please.
It's really celebrity here. I feel like I'm talking to the ABDL Academy. So, I think I speak for everyone in the room when I say we're very grateful for everything that all of you have done and the way you've given back to the community in your podcasts. My question is, what are other things that you could suggest to people on how to give back to the community? And they can be simple things, they can be, big things like podcasts, things like that. But for people who aren't ready to do the big stuff, what are some simple things that you can say, hey, here's how you can give back and feel like more of the community yourself?
Do you have a weird idea?
I don't, that's why I'm asking.
Do it. Make cool shit. there's so many people in this room and this con that just do cool shit. And it's awesome. And it kicks ass. And if there were no Love and Brief, I wouldn't have made a podcast. Gosh, it's a little hard. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. We see what's possible, and just all of these things kind of enrich our lives, you know? And it's like, and then people just come up with ideas and do cool shit. So if you have a weird idea, do it, you know?
I know a guy who is really good at taxes and started a tax service for ABDLs. Right? Sexy as shit. Yeah. I mean, literally, like, giving back can take any form, and I think sometimes it's tempting to be like, well, I'm not a rock star like Nikki is, or I don't have a specialty in.
I'm a CPA. I don't know. I mean, that's really my main motivation doing what I do for the community is I want to help those that are on the fence with an idea, or, you know, if you're an artist or want to open a new store or a podcast or a local group, I want to be there to help them over that hump, you know, because it's scary. There's a lot of institutional things in the world that are working against us. Banks and payment platforms and what have you. So if I can get in there, if people in my network that are also professionals can get in there and help others get those voices off the ground, that's how I try to pay it forward, at least with that aspect of my life. This podcast is another way, the whole idea of self-love, that journey that we've gone on, you know, that's really important to me because you helped me on my journey, RY. So round of applause for RY real quick. I think the most pressing need, I think if you're new, having a friend, as Misty said, you know, a buddy, if you can be that mentor for somebody else to get them started on this journey, that'll help them grow, and then they'll pay it forward to somebody else. It's like a cycle, you know? So once we've made it, we're all at CAPCon, we've now had this experience, and we can go out there and tell our friends in our local community, this is what this was about. How can I help you get to that point too? I'm so passionate about this because every time I come to this place, I feel like I transform. I become a complete version of myself. I step out of the bounds of society, the binaries, come here and I can be my full self. And I want others to experience that too. So go back to your local community, go to events, find somebody that is on the fence or just their first time at a munch and become their friend, become their buddy. And I think we'll all be better off for it because it just the cycle keeps going and going.
It doesn't take long to walk around here to see that a lot of people want to give something back physically. You know, we get little things walking through the door today. I've seen 3D printed little badges that people have brought, stickers, a hug, whatever it is. I think certainly in the physical realm of this community, give back with kindness, show up authentically, and just love everybody around you because we all struggle with something. Everybody's fighting a battle that you don't know about. So just give back by, if somebody creates a space, feel free to step into it. Be kind, be accepting, show love, and the community will show it right back to you.
First of all, I just want to say, as one of Teddy's clients, he's the best. So. I think a really simple step is like, we're all going to sadly be going home in a couple of days, and just reach out to one person on Monday or Tuesday that you met here and message them and just say, hi, I'm thinking about you. Just making sure, are you doing okay? You know, like that's just a simple thing that you can do because, yes, I think we're all in this CAPCon magic and it's incredible, but like this isn't every single day, right? So just think of a way, just like reach out to a friend and just say, I'm thinking of you. That's it. Just want to know how you are. Yeah.
I got great career advice once that was find the thing that you do so invisibly to yourself, it comes so naturally to you that you get it done and everybody else goes, how the hell did you do that? Like everybody else is amazed and for you it's very natural. For me, I came out of the background of podcasting, so podcast was the thing. It doesn't feel like work to me. It's just fun. everybody has one of those things, right? And so if you happen to be an incredible D&D dungeon master, or you happen to be a remarkable audio engineer, or you know a whole lot about cybersecurity or whatever, like lean into that and say to the community, how can I help you with this thing that I can do in my sleep that everybody else seems to be amazed by? Thank you for that question. I love that. These questions are very funky.
I guess I get to be the first person with a story rather than a question.
Please.
So for those people that listened to the CAPCon preview episode, you interviewed staff, including Nito, and Nito talked about how excited he was that he had a friend coming that he knew in real life vanilla before he knew that they were into this. I'm the friend. Useful memory is not always accurate and not always reliable, and I remember the story of how we found out a little bit differently than the way he told it.
Oh.
So I thought I would tell my version of how it So yes, we've known each other for years and years and years through vanilla, and the way I recall it, he was hanging out at his favorite local drinking establishment and just kind of had an open invite for any of his friends that wanted to stop by, hang out, have a few drinks. And so I went, and people just kind of cycled in and out, but it was a quieter moment when it just happened to be the two of us sitting together. And I was talking about a thing that I had just been to, a vanilla event, completely innocuous, completely unrelated to anything like this, on a particular weekend. And he mentioned, I helped run a convention that that happened that same weekend. So I was working on this big hotel takeover event. And my inner monologue went, wait a minute, those dates sound familiar because I hadn't been to this, but I knew about it. And so then there was that sort of, if I asked if this is what it was, could you confirm for me that we're talking about the same thing?
That's a fun little dance we're doing.
And so he said, yeah. And I said, was it CAPCon? And he was like, yeah. And so then we started talking a little bit more in depth. The other part, the reason I wanted to tell the story is I did not recognize his voice from the podcast, so nobody has to panic.
Not our
Maybe
fault.
other friends.
That happened to be a different time, though.
Oh,
It didn't happen to me. So that's just what I wanted to share.
Oh, thank you for that. I'm so glad you did it.
Am I allowed to name that delicate dance as a DL detente?
I know a thing. Do you know the thing I know? Do you know that I know that you know the thing I know?
I think this is an appropriate time since we were just talking about Nito, and I just wanted to plug, please don't forget to donate to ilcm.org/donate. So that we can give back to the community and the people here in Minneapolis. And if you're listening to this in a few days, please go do that and donate. And remember, at the end of CAP, if you go see Nito, he has stickers. He can give those to you. And then I believe we're going to see our final count at closing ceremony. So I just wanted to plug that really quick.
So this is going to be a little bit of an RY love fest for a moment.
Oh my God.
And I'm a big soft man as well. So this is coming from someone who has had your voice in my ears for a very long time. And I want to genuinely say thank you for bringing me through the hate, the shame, the sorrow, the worry, and everything that goes along with it. Thank you. So to my question, to that person who has felt the same way, to that person who is sitting in their car saying, this shouldn't be me, but I want it to be me. And this can go for all of you on the stage. What do you tell that person that's saying to themselves, this shouldn't be me, but I want it to be me?
This has never gone away. I don't think it's going anywhere. You know, what's so bad about being myself? I wear silly underwear. Big deal. Everyone's a little goofy. You know, I don't know. Someone said to me like yesterday, like, I'm so glad I have this. I couldn't imagine like how, like, I'm so blessed that I have this desire, like this like little secret place. It's this safe place that I can always go to. Do you guys agree? Like, are you so glad?
There was a piece in Psychology Today, maybe last week, and historically, my go-go gadget ears would have picked it up to say, is it talking about BDSM communities? And actually, the article in Psychology Today was talking about third places and how they've disappeared. So third places are not a workplace, they're not your home. There are places like bowling alleys or houses of worship or malls when people would congregate there. And the reason that folks don't have opportunities to build social skills or build social networks is because those third places have disappeared and a lot of them have been supplanted with digital spaces. The Psychology Today article goes on to say, BDSM communities surprisingly have filled this hole. That sounds dirty. But what they found surprisingly, and I wondered, I sent it to my therapist and I said, do you think the person that wrote this article is one of us? But it was a separate study that said folks that build these BDSM communities not only relied on each other for growing social networks, but suddenly they blossomed for workplace recommendations, for clergy, for, oh, I know a cybersecurity person. Oh, I know somebody that knows a ton about tractors. I know somebody, so that they found support in beyond social things, but absolutely like, hey, I know an accountant and I have a weird question about like, how do I incorporate and generally accepted accounting principles? Like, how do you nerd out? So to that end, I posted that article on FetLife. And it was the last thing I thought I would have been doing, but how we have grown to connect with people on a level that you get to bump elbows, and Mr. November's over there who always said this to me, that like I would have never been enriched to the level of meeting so many different people from so many different walks of life, because I would have never encountered them. And my first opportunity to meet a trans person, to meet someone with they, them pronouns, like all of these things that like my first CAPCon in 2018, it's like, well, I've never met a human being that I could have assigned this background to, and now I have, and I'm enriched as a consequence.
Very well said. I can echo a lot of that journey. You know, I grew up kind of in a quote-unquote normal household, normal community, followed the binaries of society. You know, I was a boy, turned into a man, went on that whole journey. And it wasn't until I started making friends in this community that I saw the real opportunity here. It's a chance for me to reinvent myself. And I guess, what's there to lose? You know, why, if you're sitting there with that thought in your mind, like, I want to do more of this, but I just can't accept this, start with asking, who are you hurting? You know, it's just underwear, right? And by wearing underwear that absorbs fluids and the other stuff, you can have all this opportunity that Misty just said, and more. You know, it's so hard to make friends as adults. There's no third spaces right now. I've heard from a lot of vanilla friends and other hobby groups that they're just struggling since the pandemic to get back out there, to find that in-person connection that maybe they had before the pandemic. And here I am thinking inside, I'm thriving. And I know so many others who are thriving too. And their self-expression is just multiplying. New identities, new personas, new headspaces, new elements to themselves that they never thought they would find. And so for those out there listening, you're not hurting anybody. And just there's a world of possibility that will help you in all facets of your life, as we were just saying. So just do it. Just take that leap, and you will be rewarded for it.
Yeah. I also think, like, that I was just reflecting on last night, and I wish folks at home who are listening or who are in the gym or in their cars, if you could have seen what I saw. So I ran up on stage to do a song last night. I was so lucky to be part of the band, and I looked out and I saw 1,800 happy adults. Like thoroughly happy adults. When was the last time you saw a happy adult?
Been a while.
I saw 1,800 thoroughly happy adults. Why would you deny yourself that? Why do you believe you aren't entitled to that joy? That would be the question I would pose to the person who's wondering if they belong here. Yeah, you belong here, and I want that happiness for you too. Thank you.
It's a very tough act to follow. Thank you so much, RY, for what you do. One of my favorite podcasts. Favorite podcast to put on while we're on a long drive with my vanilla wife. So she tries not to pay attention. But thank you for everything. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to kind of delve a little bit deeper into this, and maybe break one of the cardinal rules of public forum, which is don't talk about politics and religion. And I'm going to ask about religion. So, as a very religious person, hold on, we talked about it, but no. As a very religious person who, religion has a very constructed and hard morality concept. For those of us that are listening in our cars today, what would you say to that person to get past that? I've accepted myself. I wish that those others out there who are very religious would accept this side of themselves and understand that it's okay to love yourself who you are. And that this construct of morality that's been put on us by society is maybe not exactly what makes you happy. That's what gives you satisfaction yourself. What would you say to those people?
Oh, it's so good. Thank you.
I think, like, I don't know. I think we owe it to ourselves to be ourselves. Like, I think that there's a lot of, I'll speak from my experience. I grew up evangelical. It seems like there's a lot of extra. I've read the Bible cover to cover at least once in my life. And I think there are constructs that it's like, wait a minute, like where is the part that I heard from this sermon in this scripture? Like, I'm not finding it. Oh, that was some kind of like extra thing. You know what I mean? So like there are like almost, there's a lot of shame. There's like a lot of learned shames. And I don't know, sorry, I'm getting like religious, but there's no Bible verses against wearing diapers, I don't think so. But no, it's tough. It's tough, and I would just say examine paths of life that are really structured around shame, and examine that, and wonder if that's for you, or what that's about, or if that's. I'm gonna start doing a TED Talk. Or if you're, I don't know, it just seems like there's a lot of really lovely ideas and a lot of worldviews and spiritualities. And I don't dig like manipulation. I don't know. That's it. That's my TED Talk.
Well,
really speak to the religious aspect of it, to be honest, but just on a morality and acceptance level, this is something that I hear a lot, and I also have a podcast that's just much smaller than this. Generally, we hear a lot of our listeners will just write in to say they suffered with so much shame and anxiety and guilt, and it's exactly that. It's like, I shouldn't be doing this. And then they listen to like my podcast or this podcast or any other kind of medium, and they hear people that articulate how much they love about this community, how much joy it brings them. Our wife often describes it as having a superpower in both a sexual or a non-sexual sense. I think it's driven on that really. It's try to reduce the shame, try to surround yourself with people that are first and foremost accepting, but also potentially into this. And I think that's kind of how I went from, not that I've ever really done binge and purge, but there was certainly a time where I was like, I wish I wasn't into this. And now if somebody offered me red pill, blue pill and said, take this one and you won't be ABDL anymore, I'd tell them to get fucked. This is a small part of who I am, but it's a really, really important part of who I am. And I wouldn't change it for the world. And I would love to go back to one of the first questions. If I could have anything for the future of the ABDL community, it would be to remove shame from every single person, because you've got nothing to be ashamed of.
I can't speak from our experience about the religious aspect and not grow up religious, but I do want to plug just how empowering travel and world experiences can be. There's an amazing world out there of different religions, different sects, different nationalities with whole different cultures. And, I went overseas last summer for the first time with my partner, and she just, that whole experience, being there with her, being in different cultures, hearing about, we were in Japan, and hearing about their religious customs, and in Korea, their customs, it really expanded my worldview. Somebody who had lived in this country my whole life, traveled extensively around it, but still been in that kind of bubble, it really helped me see that there's so many other aspects to the world than what we see in the U.S. And you can borrow things from those other cultures and see like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. And I imagine, again, not speaking from experience with religion, but if you go out there and learn about other cultures, you can say like, wow, that's a really cool aspect, that's cool. And come back and challenge some maybe parts of your faith that you grew up with kind of as an assumption. I don't know if that rings true for you or anybody else who grew up with religion as an aspect of their life, but it's helped me expand how I view the world, and that may be able to help others too.
Think about Darwin and Galapagos turtles. Every species iteration that we have in different places had to organize, and they needed a construct. And in order to organize, the easiest thing is to control through fear, right? So it was for safety reasons. And if you think about scripture, some of the scripture that no longer stands true for prohibition against eating pork, right? It was to protect people. That doesn't always serve us. And it's really interesting if we talk about Asia, some practices where it's like, okay, we got to take shoes off before you walk in the house. And you're like, that's kind of a cool one after living through a global pandemic of like, maybe we don't want to bring germs from the outside. Hey, Japan, love that. So to Teddy's amazing recommendation, you have to think the origin story, I don't want to say villain origin story, but the origin story a lot of religions was control and social organization. So, and then the easiest way for starting that is to tell you what not to do because it's scary. And if you think about looking at the species, wow, the most aberrant or the most outlier, if you think about like a bell curve, they would be the ones that would be most vulnerable. And as we've grown as a species, we have the ability to take more and more care of different people that are less vulnerable. So I'm hoping some awareness and growth will let us evolve and look at the origin of a lot of these religions for love and acceptance. So maybe we'll get there more on the interpretations of these religions.
To speak really briefly to this, I grew up a very good Catholic girl, and I was in a very monogamous, very traditional Catholic marriage for 16 years. I I've been there, and I guess my biggest piece of advice is if you feel a tug that something doesn't feel right, like you should listen to that. And what I think, I think religion is beautiful, and I'm not practicing like an organized religion right now, but that doesn't mean I'm not a spiritual person. And I think that, like Teddy was saying, with like taking different things from cultures, I think that's really good advice. Is when I was doing yoga training, they were like, "This is not a religion, but it is a philosophy, and take what serves you and what helps you." And if something else doesn't serve you, that's okay. But like take the pieces that really serve you. So I still do that from my Catholic upbringing, the pieces that served me, and like that stuff is never gonna go away. But I get to keep adding all of these other things that make me a better person, which I think Jesus said, just be a better person at the end of the day, right? So I think that if you feel a tug that something feels wrong, you should investigate that. And I'm always gonna plug, like, go to therapy, because that shame that may come from your religious background is a deep part of you, but it isn't just the religion. So investigate that and figure out where else in your life that maybe you can change and grow, but also keep the parts of religion that feel good and actually serve you.
Just so you know, I have a friend that we've been lucky to get to know really well, who is a priest essentially, and he kind of apologized the first time we spoke. He's like, "Sorry, I feel like I have to apologize because I'm very religious," and I was like, "Please don't. Like, I have a profound admiration for people of faith. Like, to this moment, I have a profound admiration. I hope our community welcomes people of faith. I really do. I may not be a religious person myself, but I hope our arms are open. They are, right? Yeah. Just don't be a dick." Okay. So to all those brothers and sisters and non-binary friends who are full people, just, yes, please bring all of us.
Don't be a dick.
And that person was on our podcast, our religion episode, if you want to go hear that, as well as my beautiful, amazing friend, Tiny's Tyrant, who's right there. So if you want to hear more about that,
Friends, we're at the hour mark. How are we feeling? We okay?
Yeah. Should we keep going? We got another half an hour of this? Yeah. So someone who identifies as age queer, where this isn't so much a kink or a hobby or something that I can put away for a little while. I've never been through a birth cycle. This has always been the core of who I am. And it's been a really heavy life with growing up from a single mom, young single mom, mentally ill, and had very negative memories surrounding this growing up, from early age to middle school to high school, until finally graduating high school, and then 2 weeks later just skipping off and going across the country. Now, 15 years later, my mom has got a little bit older and a little more sane, and my little brother has had grandkids, which I don't plan to have, and she's originally reached out to offer an olive branch to sit down and talk about the things that happened when I was a kid, specifically relating around diagnosis and how it's affected our relationship, because for the last 15 years we've spoken maybe 2 or 3 times a year. And so this was about 6 or 7 months ago, and so my question to you is, what advice do you have to actually make the first step and break that ice, and talking points to start with, as far as where do we begin as far as this healing this journey where we can actually get each other's life?
Thank you for sharing your story with us. And it sounds like you're at a really what could be an important turning point. Looking for some advice on how do we do this in a way that's going to be safe for you and helpful. Am I hearing that right?
It's a mutual thing where, I want it to be safe for me, but I also want it to be productive. I don't want to be on the attack and accusation the entire time. I want it to be productive. I actually want to prepare a relationship. And so after 15 years of not having a relationship, not having a relationship with as an adult, never, it's kind of hard when there's no ground. There's no backwards.
You kind of started from zero.
That's right. And we're across the country from each other every day.
Yeah. Oh, this is so good. Thank you for sharing that question. And my guess is you're not the only person in this room who might be wondering, how do I heal a broken family relationship as a result? Anybody want to speak to how do we begin that process?
I think the first step is to look within yourself and make sure it's something you want. I don't know if you reached out to her or she reached out to, I think she reached out to you first, right? So
she did, but it was brought on by my
Okay. So yeah, if this is something that you do want to do, and also think about what is the end goal or reason. Do you want to get an apology? Do you want to give forgiveness? Do you want to just have a better relationship where you can actually see her more often? I think starting with like what kind of reparation do you actually really want? And then go from that place so that you can at least have some expectations and some boundaries for yourself going into this really difficult situation. My first piece of advice, I don't know where to go from there. It sounds really fun.
It's interesting because I opened up my AMAs and I got a question that I sat on for a long time that said, is ABDL a trauma response? And it made me want to love it. Because I don't want to believe that my entire personality or core of who I am is a stimuli response to trauma. But it sure does seem, I don't know, compared to my vanilla friends, that there's a disproportionate amount of trauma-informed backgrounds in our community, or in BDSM writ large. I would highly recommend just like, maybe don't do your taxes if you are having a lot of complexity or not a strong background. I would invite you to find a kink-aware professional that has a therapeutic licensure wherever you are, or if they can practice, if it is going to have to be virtual, so that individual that can bring you together, because I feel there is so much to unpack there, and some goals are really helpful to define, but I think with the help of a third-party clinician, that you can make sure you're doing that in a safe way for your psyche and your own well-being. I would highly recommend to engage an expert.
15 years is a really long time. So I think you need to be pretty patient, listen to your heart, understand what you want out of it, seek as much help and support along the way to get that, and just know that this isn't going to be undone in 5 minutes. If you embark on this, it sounds like you really want to give yourself the grace and patience to work through it for a longer time, and see if you can continue to be amicable and improve that relationship that's been missing for a really, really, really long time.
That's good. I suppose last thought would be, I think, to reinforce a little bit of this, that like, if you have goals for yourself and you have an understanding of where your boundaries are, you're going to have a much more sort of person-to-person conversation. If you go in just wanting something, it's really difficult because you're putting yourself out there hoping that they give it to you. So if you go in and you know where your boundaries are, you know what your goals are, and you know when to walk away and say, right now, this is not going the way I need it to go. Because I'm doing this for me, to be clear. I would love to have something, you're not giving it to me. If you know where that point is, you're much more empowered to run the conversation you need to have. So good luck, and then thank you for that.
This is
This community is so amazing. I love this. Like, I opened up a bunch of questions just in case nobody had anything to ask.
Just in case.
And we're having these amazing, rich conversations about like reconnecting with our families despite trauma. And then I look down and I've got a prompt that just says poop show. Somebody asked us to do a poop show, and I was like, well, I think I would much rather have this conversation.
Confidence.
Do you want to do a poop show? We'll do a poop show. All right. Hi.
Hi, my name is Rissa. My love is with my daddy. I know no one said that, but...
Thank you for sharing your love.
But sometimes I find it's hard to hang out with the other age players because I'm more of an age aggressor, and it feels difficult to fully play with those people in the spaces. What would you recommend?
Oh, thank you for that. So making a delineation between age play and age regressor. How do you think about that delineation?
For me, it's more of my autism and ADHD that I've been bullied and teased all my life. So that's why I've always been like little and acting little and always like that. And so it's not really age play for me. It's more just like trauma and age aggression that I want to sink down to a little space before I was bullied and tormented.
So you're engaging in sort of a therapeutic experience.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. How do we think about when you're in a place where this is a therapeutic response for you? How do you engage and play in a place where other folks are just playing?
Is your age aggression more like wholesome and sweet and safe? Do you find yourself going to that place?
Yes and no. It's like who I'm with. Like you've seen me in events. I'm just chilling. I don't really like go to different like spaces and play with people. I'm just like chilling, vibing. But I would love to engage more and like play with them.
I guess I would say just find the people that match your vibe and bring the good feels out of you. And that's what I would say to anyone, really. Whether it's like punk rock or skateboarding or, you know, when you find the people, you can just be yourself and enjoy yourself. And they know that about you. They know you're an age regressor. You can be safe with them.
One piece that strikes me too is I appreciate your delineation is asking yourself in that moment, are there other people who are in a space where this is therapeutic for them? Could we be therapeutic for each other in a way that is safe? Awesome. Or am I in a space where, right, like I've had that therapeutic experience today, let's say, but I sure would like to just try something new. Can I engage in play in a safe way that won't contradict the therapeutic experience?
Well, one thing I also find is there are age players and age aggressors that are together. But for the age aggression, it's more like trauma, like trauma based, where they don't want to really engage in that. It's more of the age play aspect of that. And for me, it's just like me acting like a child and me just being childlike. So it's not even just trauma in general. It's just that's my personality in a way.
Yeah. And do you find it difficult to engage with when people say, or when you see people playing? How does it feel to think about engaging in play with them?
I have a hard time.
Yeah.
To like really like see what we're doing and like all that kind of stuff and go in and play with that.
Yeah. One thing I have seen other folks who are more in a regressed space do is put up the work to communicate almost like way too clearly. Like, what are you guys doing? Can I do it with you? In a way that's almost like bizarrely clear, so that everybody feels like, oh, okay, I understand what this is. And that can create a safe space where you can do the play without feeling like you are working in their regression, they're working in your regression. A really intentional conversation, even if it feels sort of odd to be that direct. Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be my advice. And I wonder if you can find a way to, when you do want to engage, just be like, I would love to play, and I'm wondering if you could help me just understand what we're playing and how we're doing that right now, and just be able to, it's okay to ask for help, and just that way everyone's clear, like, I want to do this, but I'm not really sure how to do this. And that's really vulnerable, right? But usually if you just say, I would love to join, can you help me understand, like, how we're playing and what we're doing right now. And then you can decide, like, do I want to do that, or maybe I can go find somewhere else.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah.
Thank you. You look incredible, by the way. You're welcome. Here comes our executive producer, Mr. November.
Sorry for my broken English. I speak Spanish from Mexico. So, I want to share a little bit of my story. I am a 25-year Christian. I've been Christian basically my whole life. When I was young, I was struggling with this all these things that why I am how do you say? I was struggling my whole life with LIB, and then I got the conclusion that God made me like this because He wanted to me to be like, don't get stressed. This is the tool that He gave me to, don't be stressed all the time. And I want to start a podcast in Spanish, and I want to get to that theme, faith, religion. But where do you recommend to start at a podcast? I'm gonna get to that point, but where do you recommend to start that podcast?
Se tiene que decir que hay un montón de gente aquí que habla español, que son hispanos, y se tiene que pensar también que el grupo que está creciendo a la tasa más rápida en este país son los hispanos. So I'm going to switch over to English. The fastest growing demographic in this country are Latinos. So, and you never know, based on their melanin, who might be Latina, just saying. But notwithstanding, I think you would find a beautiful, beautiful group of acceptance, because if there is I feel like the Anglo community is ahead of the Latinx community in terms of acceptance, awareness for LGBTQ for a number of different things. So to that end, even if you used as a bellwether and a litmus test, legalization of gay marriage. Not all of Latin America has done it as quickly as Anglo-America or Netherlands or other places, but we have an expert on podcasting, so I will turn it over, but I just wanted to share that with you, that I'm delighted and I look forward to meeting you when we're done with it.
Funny enough, I posed this exact same question to Al a couple of years ago when I was considering spinning up a podcast as well. And his advice was, just fucking do it. You do not need the best audio equipment, you do not need the best editing equipment, you do not need the best of anything. What you do need is just to do it, put it out there, appreciate that there is going to be a period of time where you feel like you're sending things into the void. I assure you this community will find it and they will pick it up. My podcast is two idiots in England sitting around a coffee table with a microphone. We never thought anybody would ever listen to it. And yes, 2 days ago while I was at CAP, we just passed 33,000 listens. Which isn't as much, but it was way beyond anything that we ever imagined. So I will let our wild answer because he'll give you the best advice ever. However, he gave me the advice of just do it. I did it, and it's gone pretty well.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect when you start. There's something about like just be honest, be epic. Just like I find myself saying like weird things. I'm like, I don't know if I've ever heard someone say that. Like just little pieces of our consciousness, like vocalizing this thing about my kink or my lifestyle. I've confessed a lot of embarrassing things for the world to hear. You know what I mean? But there's like this sincerity, and if you just do that, it's like magic. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be like the most epically produced thing. And whatever like angle that you have into this mortal coil, that's your gift. That's what it is. And it's gonna reach all these people you never like expected. You're like, what? I was just like goofing around with a microphone, and now we're here. So just do it.
I was just going to say how lucky we are to be in a time where there are all these podcasts. I know it's the first one that I listened to on my journey, but nowadays, Nikki and ComfortablyCrinkly here, just amazing resources out there, different genres, different topics, and the more voices that we have out there, the better, And so if you can capture a certain demographic, a certain part of the world, different subsects of topics, please do it. Please do it. We need it. There's voices out there that need to be heard, and listeners and ears that need to hear it. So please do it.
And I'll say, I apologize for my broken Spanish, but muchas gracias por tu pregunta. Y nosotros necesitamos your voice. Your voice. Not just my voice, not just her voice, not just their voice. We need your voice. Can I come hug you though? Is that okay?
This is such a love fest.
We have to keep cutting out the 5-minute intervals where I hug people and cry. I will say, if you guys are thinking about starting your own podcast, come find me. I will talk with you about how it's done. I will give you every in and out on how to make it easy on yourself. I want you to do that. If you're feeling it, I want you to do that, and I will give you every tool I have to make it happen. My number one piece of advice, other than just do it, which is just fucking do it, is make 12 of them. Throw them out into the ether. You will have no feedback for the first 6 to 10. Somewhere around episode 12, commit yourself. Somewhere around episode 12, somebody will write to you and say, I heard your thing, and it was meaningful to me. And after that first little shot of heroin of that kind of feedback, you're going to be hooked for life. And 144 episodes later, you're going to be sitting with 200 of your closest friends at CAPCon. All right, I think we have time for 1 or 2 more, please.
Hi there. Much going to make it kind of quick and everything for the questions. I'm not sure if it was asked at the very beginning. What has been each of your guys' favorite either moments of like little conversation that sparked up at this con, or the radically fun time with someone? What's been like your favorite activity or something like connection that you've made that, it always makes CAP a little special to have those quick moments where you feel like not everything is even serious and you feel home. CAP is a lot of great, fast, quick connections.
I just wanted to say, I went to a wedding here last night, and it was incredibly touching. And just to get married at CAPCon, how much of a dream is that? It was just so heartwarming. And there's just a million small moments like that. I went from trick-or-treating to a wedding, to a comedy show, to a rock concert in 2 hours. Where else can you do that?
Mini stories. I'll try to do mini story topics.
For me, it was 2 years ago when I came to my first camp. I flew 4,000 miles to be in Chicago. I got tickets 2 weeks before the event. Everything was frantically booked in the last minute. And I flew over on the belief that I'd actually never met anyone in person. I'd connected with a lot of people online, but I'd never actually met anybody that was going to be at camp. And that was quite a scary proposition. There was a guy that I chatted to on Instagram, and I knew that he was going to be there, so I was like, hey, it would be great to grab a beer with you. And on that Thursday, we met up in the bar and we had a beer. In fact, we probably had about 12 of them. We became instant friends that night. The online relationship that we built just transitioned into the real life. And that happens at CAPCon so often. You get to meet people that you've met online for the first time. And off the back of that cap, I went on probably the worst 2 years of my life personally. And that guy opened up his heart, he opened up his mind, and he opened up his home for me on numerous occasions. And his name is Resonant Yes. I love this podcast by being a guest on this panel, and nothing's going to bear that. I was following your entire story. Are you talking about me?
When Teddy said, how can you go from trick-or-treating to a wedding to a comedy show and a concert, a rock concert? No potty breaks. Secondhand, my daddy shared this story, and there was someone dressed up in some ridiculous toddler outfit and a ridiculous infant outfit. They're having a conversation with each other, and they're talking about parenting. And they say, you know, I don't want my kid to turn out weird or anything. Like, oh, do you do the soccer league? Do you do the traveling soccer league? Like, oh, you don't want to over-index in that because you want them to turn out weird.
My favorite exchanges, I think, that happen at CAPCon are the people who come up to me and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm this person from online that we've never met in person. I'm so nervous to talk to you. And I'm just like, if only you knew how much of a big dummy I am. And we just give a big hug, and then it's just like, we become real friends. And it's just like I live off of that.
I think my favorite moment was when I got my diaper signed by like the hottest rock star celeb last night. And last night I was like, Daddy, we have to keep this. He's like, we can't keep this. Please? And then my other favorite moment, there's so many, but I'm going to say 3 really quickly. We all did, some of our friends did an impromptu karaoke night a couple of nights ago, and we had so much fun. And in this moment, I saw Teddy and Toki singing together, and I was like, my friend Teddy that I met 4 or 5 years ago would never have done this. And I started crying, and I was like, just seeing my friends grow and thrive and be happy is like the most incredible thing in the whole world.
You make me cry.
It's so good. And then also, there have been so many people coming up and being like, wait, are you Lola? And I'm like, yes, I think so. And just being like, thank you so much for your podcast. I was like, it's not my podcast, but feeling like a part of something this incredible, and people just like, thank you so much. Please come say hello, because I want to just, it's embarrassing for me and hard, but also like it's so wonderful to just hear from you. So thank you so much for like coming and saying hi to me, because I still sometimes feel like I'm an outsider. So thank you.
2 more small things. I did want to just say how proud of Toki I am. This is her first convention. She was no problem last night. She was just dancing up and down, jumping everywhere, having a time of real life. I tied a little harness on her, and I could pull her around. It was so fun. It's just, it was so heartwarming to me. You made me cry, so thank you for being here. Now, one more thing I want to say as far as interactions go. I have always, like last four conventions, given out these little bears to hundreds of people at each convention. And I love the little interactions that brings about. The smiles on people's faces, the like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. And then, some of them just dive in, just grab one, some of them are like, all right. And it's just so rewarding, and it kind of breaks the ice so well. So I think that would be my interaction. And for those out there listening, consider next time bringing a little trinket to trade. There was a trinket trade here one night. There were 30, 40, 50 people in that room with their own stuff and just going back and forth, making connections, and it was so fun.
Yeah. It's killing me. Absolutely. I'm going to go home with a whole bunch of stuff that the rest of the year is going to sit on one of my diaper shelves. And I'm going to look at it every time I open that closet. That'll have to be our last question, but I do want to address it. Thank you. Boy, oh boy. I was going to say, so there's this oh shit moment that happens to me every con where somebody taps me on the shoulder and I turn around and go, oh shit, because I haven't seen them in a year, or we've never met, but we have talked through the podcast, or we know each other online. And I had like 20 of those last night. Like when Mr. and Mrs. Patton were there, and I was like, oh my God, you're in the flesh in front of me. It's incredible. Those moments are amazing for me. My favorite moment of the con just happened. Like now. This is going to be the thing that I am going to think about for the next 364 days. Being with you here in this room. Like when we sit on the third floor of our house and we have these microphones and we're talking to our guests, you are the ones that we're talking to. You right here, you are the people that we are trying to connect with. And it feels sometimes it's one way, right? It has to be. That's the nature of the medium. This is not one way. Being with you is what fuels me to do every episode we do all year long. So this is my favorite moment of the con, for sure. Guys, this has been incredible. I just want to do a couple of thanks. One is to our esteemed panel, for my co-hosts, Teddy and Lola, all year long, producing amazing episodes. For our amazing rock star, Nikki Love, for our other esteemed podcast host, friend, and special guest, ComfortablyCrinkly. And for a baby of 1,000 insights and apparently at least 2 languages. I also want to thank the CAPCon team and our awesome audio engineer, Dadbaud. Thank you. We're making all this happen. It pains me to say it, but this is going to bring an end to our episode. This has been such a thrill. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your love. We're going to keep hanging out, and I will be here as long as you will. This has been another episode of Love in Brief.